Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. Moby. And today we have great episode with one of very fine guests. And let's welcome Shawn Energy.
Hey, how are you? How are you, Dr. Moby? Thank you for having me.
Shawn is a wonderful podcaster as well as he's also a lifestyle, spiritual lifestyle, a practitioner as well as preacher and guru, whatever you like to be called. And I will leave the intro to him. Okay, so go ahead, Shawn. Tell us
Yeah,
what.
thanks. Yeah, thank you again for having me. It's so funny because I've never actually been introduced as a guru, and I've never claimed that I am a guru, or said that I am. But I guess when you get into the spiritual coaching and you go into it from a perspective of healing, and you use like ancient cultures and ancient techniques and practices, it kind of falls into that line of a guru. My ideology and what it is that I try to do and I've been successful at so far is leading people to, I would say, like the guru within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, each one of us has the answers within. Each one of us is such a beautiful, powerful person, and the best version of us is a healed, fully activated, self-realized version.
Mm-hmm.
So all of my teaching, all of what I do, and all of what I offer is designed to bring people to their best self, the version of themselves which is most effective, most healed, most full of love, most effective within their personal relationships and within their business and all aspects of life. So I've been doing this work for many years now. About 10 years I've been offering spiritual guidance and leadership
Mm-hmm.
toward people, and you can see on my website right here some of the things that you can kind of get from my teachings.
Mm-hmm.
um, if you This is the Ascension Protocol. So I actually designed this as like a blueprint. So if people want to start their spiritual journey from scratch without any predisposition on what to expect, it says right there, it's my goal to help as many people as possible awaken to their own divine birthright, and in doing so, heal our hearts and mend our cultures. So it is truly from my deepest love that I express my gratitude for joining me on this journey. And I mean that to anybody who's
Mm-hmm.
doing any bit of self-work or any bit of love within themselves, because
Mm-hmm.
imagine if everybody in the world just cared a little bit more. If everybody in the world brought a little bit more awareness and consciousness into their decisions, into how they interacted with each other, and into how they interact with themselves. That's the real aspect that has to be addressed at all times, is how we interact with ourselves, because everything on the outside is just a reflection of our internal experience.
Mm-hmm.
And even modern psychology, every life coach will agree with that it's the battle within that we reflect out.
Mm-hmm.
And by healing that battle and coming to a place of harmony, then you can have harmony in your experience. So that was a lot, kind of like an introduction, but it's all personalized. It's all about how the journey that you've been on has affected you up to this point, and what it's done to your life, and now how you want to move forward. Like, what needs to be improved? What
Mm-hmm.
do you think could be better? Like, what parts of your life have you learned lessons, and maybe hard lessons, that now you want to improve on your quality of experience? And that's what I do, and a lot of other people do too. A lot of people offer a lot of wisdom and growth, and it
Mm-hmm.
all comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of wanting the best for everybody in the world. Obviously, when you look at the state of our culture today, and you look at the state of the world, like there's definitely room for improvement. There's definitely room for us to be more mindful and more, you know present in our conversations, and aware of all
Mm-hmm.
aspects of it, to come out of an individuality mindset and move into a unity mindset, because division has cost us so much time in our culture internationally. All the divisive, you know decisions, all the divisive ideologies. And we're at a point now in human history where we'll look back on this time period, and the decisions that we make as a united culture, as a world culture, are going to shape the future irreparably.
Mm.
So
And
I'm doing my part to try to help that.
that's such an important topic. A lot of people don't realize that we can really explain. We have really progressed a lot in science, and which is a great thing. Yeah, we are not against that, and that's our basic. The more knowledge you get, the better you get at it. So actually, if we know more, then we realize that we know less. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
if we see that, yes, we can explain a lot, and you can also explain, and we can explain, okay, this phenomena is this is this, and this is that. Human body is like this. So you look at, the more deeper you look at, you more get to the fine architecture, and you understand how beautifully it is made and built and all that. Okay.
Yeah.
And there is a rhythm. There is like another person, which we don't see with our eyes, and which everybody has it. So there is inner, and then there is a physical element. We can explain, and we can detect, and we can feel with our senses a lot of physicality, but there is spirituality only comes when you feel, when you open your own spirituality. So
I
it's
love
a
how you said
sense.
that.
Yeah. So it's a sense where you actually have to. A lot of people ask me, okay, well, I don't feel any spirituality. That's true, because you didn't open up your senses. If you are going to have closed eyes, and then you think that you will see things, that's not going to happen. Open your doors, open your heart, open your love, and stop hating people, and then spreading these kind of hatred. Then you will find peace yourself first, and then also you will be actually part of the bigger picture, which we all are. So
Yeah.
we all have a place in this universe, and we all are fit into somewhere, but we have to find our own position. So it's up to us. Nobody is going to tell, okay, this is where you belong. So you have to, and we have to look in ourselves first. So if I know myself, then listening to you, I can feel that, because I know that you're a spirituality person. So even if you didn't say, even you would express that, even you had no description of what you do, and but the way you start, the way you talk, you can tell that this person has some idea about spirituality, right?
Yeah, and it takes one to know one, truly. So I honor, your acknowledgement in that way. And like how you said, a lot of people they think that spirituality is like closing their eyes and then seeing something, seeing visions. That's like a part of it, but it's not the important part, and that also doesn't come right off of the bat. That's not what people should focus on. Part of what I give off the bat is the experience of energy. Like you said, the feeling. Like spirituality is felt. It's
Mm,
you can see spirituality once you've felt spirituality, in the way where it's like when you have had the experience, the actual experience of feeling your heart center open. So coming from a place of, like, let's say you were stressed out or you were angry or you were upset with something, and then using a spiritual technique to open your heart and feeling a state of love coming through you, and then it changes your entire body, it changes your thought process, it changes how you feel.
mm,
So now you're having a spiritual experience, and then when you're experiencing your life in that way, then everything in front of you is a spiritual experience as well, because you're no longer disconnected. You're no longer in a feeling of separation where you're angry because this person said that, or you're in your own ego because you were offended. You're
mm,
in a state of harmony and oneness and understanding. And then from that lens, when you go inward, you will have more powerful visions, you will have more powerful experiences. And that's what my all of my teachings, that's why my moniker Shawn Energy, it's
mm,
all about the energy. Consciousness is energy, and that is the gift that every person has right off of the bat. A
mm,
lot of people think that, like, the spiritual gifts are like psychic abilities, which it's true, telepathy, which it's true,
Mhm.
seeing past lives or out of body experiences. Like all of that is real, 100%, and it's trainable. And I consider it a birthright for every single person in the world to have those experiences. But right off the bat, you get energy for free. You get energy right off the bat. It is the first thing that you can connect to, that you can understand, that you can fall in love with, and that you can actually have the experience of moving it through your body. Before we get off of this podcast, I'm going to give you and your listeners an energy technique that they can use within themselves to feel this experience and to have this experience, and for them to go forward with it in every aspect of their life. And I'm excited to give that to your audience as well.
Oh yeah, no, it's wonderful. Also, tell me how your passion developed for spirituality. I mean, this is kind of talk we don't hear every day. How did you end up on this side?
Yeah. Oh my God, it's such a good question. The truth is almost like it's like it's so strange because like it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but I'll just say it because I'm fearless in this
Mm.
in this path at
Yeah,
this point,
yeah.
and I don't care if people don't believe me or what, because like that doesn't really matter anymore. But when I was a child, I had some experiences that were unidentifiable through religion or science. They were completely foreign to what normal people would experience. Like I had audible psychic communication with my dad. I would have very intense dream experiences that were like way more than a dream, and I also had the ability to telepathically communicate with people, and it was verified at a young age. Like people would tell me, like I heard your voice in my head, like weird stories. So when I was a kid, things were weird. Like they were weirder than normal people I think have experiences. But I know that after talking to tons of people, I know that a lot of other people have had experiences too, because when you're a child, you're not inhibited by like the thought of limitation. You haven't been taught that you're not powerful, and you're just going with your imagination and whatever you think. So as a kid, I was like uninhibited by that. Well, when I was 16 years old, my dad developed cancer, stage 4 cancer, and
Mm.
there was only 31 days from the time he was diagnosed till the time that he died.
Oh,
And that experience shattered my entire family. It shattered us to the core because he was the primary breadwinner. Like this was in the early 2000s. He was the worker. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She raised 3 sons, and he was a truck driver, so he was on the road a lot. He was making all the money for the house. And when he died, our entire life changed. It went from like we were like a happy family with happy holidays and all that to like it was a very stressed home with financial issues, emotional issues. And my brothers, I was 16, my brothers were 11 and 12. So it was a very delicate and fragile time for our development as a family unit and as individuals. So on my father's deathbed, I told him that I was going to find him, that I would find him and I would see him again. And I went through what some spiritualists consider the dark night of the soul. They
mm,
call that, where
mm.
you go into a period of extreme suffering and extreme darkness, and you're in a lot of pain. That period lasted about 4 years for me.
Wow.
Yeah, because like I lost my spiritual connection, because my father was actually my spiritual mentor. He was like the only person that I could talk to about the different abilities that I had and the experiences that I had. He was the only person that really understood that it was like a real thing that was happening, and he had experiences too. So it wasn't weird for him. I could talk to him about it. But when he passed away, I kind of like got disconnected from it.
Hmm.
And you fast forward 4 years later, I went on to college. I kind of like did that whole thing, not from like a place of spirituality at all, really from a place of a wounded ego of a kid whose dad died right before he went to school. And I had no mentor. I was like a loose cannon who knew what was going to happen.
Mm.
And then after university, I was in a rut. I had just got out of a bad relationship that was like mentally and emotionally and physically abusive to me. Like like all love to her now. Thank God she did all that, because that's what led me here. But out of that relationship, I was like, I didn't know who I was anymore. I really didn't. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what to do with my life. I was just like completely lost. And I remembered that when I was a kid, I used to meditate with no training. Like I just remember when I was a kid, I used to meditate. And I also remembered that when I was a kid, like I had weird experiences. I would see things. So I went back into meditation. I was like, I'm going to go back to being my inner child again. That's the only person that I remembered. So I like Googled some stuff. I Googled like how to meditate. I Googled like where, like some things. and I stumbled upon astral projection. This is where it starts getting weird. I
Mm,
stumbled upon astral projection,
mm,
and on this article that I read, it had said that if you can become an astral traveler, you can reunite with like lost loved ones. So that in my head was like, that's the way. Like that's how I'm gonna like find my dad again. Like this has to be like the only. This is the only thing I ever heard of that could lead me to that down that road. So I got extremely invested in learning how to out of body travel, and I studied all the Robert Monroe books. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Robert Monroe, the Monroe Institute in Virginia.
mm,
It's a wonderful story of Robert Monroe was like a Western doctor scientist that was involved with like television and radio waves back in like the 50s and 60s, and he had spontaneous out of body experiences, and he writes all these books about how like that developed into his passion, and he ended up founding the Monroe Institute um, to try to like put scientific nomenclature to these spiritual phenomenons. So anyway, I read all his stuff. I took like the courses from the Monroe Institute, and I started practicing out of body travel.
mm,
And right off of the bat, I had some experiences that were like different than anything I ever felt in my life. Like experiences of like separating from the physical, and it took a long time. It took months and months of like dedicated discipline practice to get to the point where I actually had an out of body experience. Like I separated from my physical body, and I got out of my body, and I saw my physical body on the bed, and I like flew out the window of my home, and outside my home there was a dog running in my yard. This is like, this is so hard to believe for people that are not
mm.
into this stuff. So, I apologize for you guys that are just like, you don't believe me, but I'm telling you, it's real.
But that's fine.
And
I mean, everybody could have their opinion, believing or
yeah,
not. But you had
yeah,
a
I do.
visit.
And if you could feel my heart, you know that I'm telling you my
Yeah, yeah.
absolute
No,
account.
I can feel.
Yeah. So, I saw the dog was actually my dad's dog. It was a white German Shepherd named Candy, who had died many years before my dad even passed away. And I saw the dog, and I recognized her, and then I turned to my right, and standing there, only a few feet from me, was my father, and
Wow,
he looked like him. He looked healthy, he looked strong, he looked beautiful and happy, and with a smile on his face, he said to me, "What took you so long?"
wow,
And he brought me in for a hug. He opened his arms. I gave him a hug. The energy that I experienced in that moment was one of great celebration and great healing and great understanding, and it had come full circle. All of the pain and all of the everything that I had went through for all of those years, and everything was instantly healed in that moment. And he gave me a message to give to my mother, and it was I kind of like snapped out of it, and I was back in my bed, back in my physical body, and I was crying, just crying, tears of joy, tears of ecstatic gratitude. And I had realized, like shortly after that, that I wasn't the same person that I was when I started this journey. I wasn't the same person that I was when I got out of college and I was lost and didn't know what to do. I wasn't the same person that was stuck in a trap of suffering. I was now a person that had purified my mind. Like I had learned I had to fix these thoughts that were like causing me so much turmoil. I learned I had to fix my heart because I was suffering so badly through my experiences that it was just contaminating every part of my life, all of my relationships, all of my actions, all of my thoughts.
mm,
And I wasn't the same person didn't that wasn't conscious and wasn't present anymore. So that one experience, like that one journey to that experience changed me in such a way
mm,
that I was never the same anymore. And my life had all new meaning and all new purpose, and I was healed. So for me, I realized that if that could happen to me,
mm,
who was a normal person for all, by all standards, I played high school sports, I played some sports in college, had girlfriends, got in trouble, all the regular stuff. If that could happen to me, then it could happen to everyone. And everybody deserves to have this experience. Everybody deserves to know that their loved ones still exist in the hereafter. Everybody deserves to know that there are spiritual experiences that are there for them, that are there for them to cope and to come to grounding and deep understanding of this reality far beyond whatever we were taught. So my life purpose from that moment on was not only to escalate and ascend my own consciousness, but to share that message and to give it away to every single person who would lend me an ear. And that's where this passion comes from, because that's not the only experience that I've had. At this point, I could talk for 3-4 podcasts about out of body experiences or energetic experiences or, you know, all of it. But that's where it comes from. And I know that people need it right now. When I think about some of the main things that hurts our society and hurts people the most is death, and our misunderstanding of death, and how people hold on to that deep pain of losing their loved ones. If everybody could have these experiences, one thing that's like a lot of people don't realize is that, like, the Western concept, the modern concept of death is completely different than what the ancient cultures considered death, and how they looked at it. The ancient Native American cultures, or the shamanistic cultures,
mm,
many indigenous cultures have a completely different understanding of death and the death process. So they can celebrate the transition, and they can celebrate the journey of the soul and the infinite consciousness, and us as God in form, and the complete celebration of the theater of life and existence. So that's where a lot of this comes from, and it grows all the time, because the world needs it more and more all the time. And it's not just that one concept of death. It's not, but that's a big one. It's the
mm,
concept of life,
mm.
and how to live life in a pure way, in a beautiful way, in a way full of bliss and understanding. And I
And
know that
that
that's out there for everyone.
and that is such so true, because so a lot of people think that our life does not end with this, and we have the spiritual life continues, as you know. And you rightly said that you could communicate with your dad, and and he told you, and then you felt so good. So this is true, that we have spirit, and we have, of course, the physical existence. Both are truth. And the question is always, can we somehow communicate with them, or is it possible to find a way to communicate with your loved ones, or whether they so there are, not everybody is gifted, so or but can somebody communicate in some way, and that could heal a lot of things, absolutely. I'm myself a believer of that. So I think we can there are differences in how different civilizations have thought of afterlife, and transition from this to the afterlife. So, and that is I think I discussed in one of my previous podcasts, and we had an excellent guest from a nearby area, and he talked also about this concept. So his thoughts was same. There is a transition between when your spirit leaves, and then it is kind of kept in initially. And I think I read different philosophies,
Mm-hmm.
Judaism, Islam, and also Hindus, and I read a lot of. So
Right.
now it's interesting that they all have some kind of explanation, right? So they have some kind of explanation on all of them, but all of them agree that there is a spirit.
Right.
I mean, that there are some which would say, no, there's nothing spirit, it's all physical, and that's it, we're done. And that's fine too. There's nothing, I don't hold them against that they're wrong or right. Okay. uh, I always give example. It's very simple. Is that people say, no, I see 6 or 9. Well, it depends which way you're looking at, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking straight or you're looking sideways, the yes, sure, might see 9, and I might see 6 from a different angle. But
Yeah.
you both could be correct, or you could be looking at one dimension, and we can only understand things to our capability. It's like sun emits all kind of radiation, right? Bright light, but you can see rainbow also from the same light, but
Yeah.
some people only see white light, and some might see
Yeah.
no light at all. or some
Yeah.
might, but it's your understanding, your thinking also, you know.
Yeah. I have a metaphor that you may appreciate, which is exactly in line with what you just said. When I think and I talk about like the different religions and the different viewpoints, I equate it to like if all the different religions were standing on different rocks and they were staring at a waterfall, and each person saw a rainbow in the waterfall, but they couldn't see each other's rainbow. And they
Hmm.
were telling each other, like, I could see this rainbow, it's here. And they're like, no, my rainbow's over here. And like, no, my rainbow's over here, it's this big.
Yeah,
They couldn't see each other's rainbow, but
that's
all of
true.
them are looking at the same waterfall. All of them, all of their rainbows are real,
Hmm.
and each one of them is real to them. And by sharing their experience, by sharing their view, then they can all see more of the picture. And that's the
And
goal for all of us spiritualists. Like that's my main point to what I do. And when I communicate with other spiritualists, it's like each one of us is gifted with a piece of the puzzle. None of us have the whole picture. None of us
yeah,
do.
none of
And yeah, and hopefully one day there will be a beautifully full fleshed out picture. But the point is that each one of us is blessed with a gift, with a view. And if all of us could take our pieces and put them together, then we can see the bigger picture.
yeah.
But it takes a lot of courage for people to come out and talk about this stuff nowadays, because nobody wants to be shunned or discredited. People don't want to lose their professional careers. People don't want to be outed by the community, or within their workplace or their relationships based on their beliefs or their experiences,
Hmm.
especially in the state of cancel culture. The good thing is, like, you can't cancel spiritualists, because like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
love everybody, everything goes. Like we're never gonna say like anything's bad or wrong, because it's all just expression. So be fearless, guys. Tell your stories.
Yeah, and I would also ask you, and there is also a question about. So, what about spirituality? We have, well, of course, human spirits. What about non-human spirits? You talked about your dog, and that was beautiful. So, also, what about ghosts? What about those Casper type spirits?
Yeah.
Do you believe in those?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that people have like a really awkward or like misunderstanding of consciousness in spirit. We have to realize, like, humans, we're so self-centered. Like, we just like when it comes to aliens or whatever, and different life, and we think that everything revolves around us. The
Mhm.
truth is that, like, the unseen is bigger than the seen in every single way. Like, when you look at visible light, what the
Mhm.
human eye can take in, there's
Mhm.
more range of invisible light than there is visible light. The
That's
human eye
true.
can only pick up so much. It's the
Mm.
same with our hearing. The decibel range that our human ears can hear is very small compared to the
Mhm.
the range of decibel sound. So in spirit, it's the same way. What we can perceive from a human point is just like a less than 1% of what's completely out there. And when it comes to entities or interdimensional consciousness, there's a whole world that you just don't know about because you're focused in this world as part of your journey. Like, we decided to be focused in this world for the growth that comes with it, but there's parallel worlds occurring right now. Even like the dream worlds, a lot of people don't give dreaming enough credit because dreaming is a fleeting experience for most people. They don't remember their dreams or they don't focus on them. But if you do work in your dreams, like if you make a dream journal and that becomes an important part of your life, you can extend your dreams for hours and hours and hours, and you can have really powerful experiences of energy and growth. You can meditate in your dreams. I've meditated in my dreams. I've found
Mm.
portals in my dreams that took me to places where, like, I can't even describe.
Mm.
So those experiences shape your mind in a way better, that like you can really in your own consciousness perceive that there's more out there. So that's like a
Mm.
long answer to a short question. But yes, there's ghosts, if you want to call it ghost. But what is a ghost? A ghost is a consciousness, just like you're a consciousness. It's an incorporeal form that's very close in frequency to this dimension. So maybe it can be perceived by certain people. But you
Mm.
also have to remember this part of it too, that there are very high level loving beings that are helping in this world. They're helping as spirit guides, as angels. People have described them throughout history. So those experiences are here for people to have and open themselves up to. So you want to have an open heart for these experiences. You want to have an open mind for these experiences, because one of the most limiting things that can happen for a human is for you to think that you know. Because as soon as you think that you know, you can't experience it anymore. You've defined it in your limited intellect and your limited information, and the limited amount of scientific knowledge that you've accrued from studying or what you've heard. You've taken all that in the monkey brain, and you've said, I know what this is now. I don't need to know any more about it. Like, for instance, like if you look at a flower, any flower, and you say, like, this flower is beautiful, or this flower is ugly, or this flower smells good, or this flower stinks. None of those descriptions are what the flower is. Those are your interpretation and opinion of that item, of that experience. But a flower is so much more than what you just defined it as.
mm,
It's a flower's experience. It's taking light from the sun, light energy, and photosynthesizing it into energy and creating more of itself from it. It's connecting to the earth and taking minerals and energy from the dirt and converting it into life. It's
mm,
creating air for us to breathe from what we breathe out. So those are those are what the flower is. It is what it's doing. The flower
mm,
is flowering. So we have to eliminate our limited interpretation of things and our limited definitions of things. And that extends to people too. And I want anybody who sees this show and anybody that's made it this far in what I'm talking about, everybody is a flower. Everybody that you see in the world is unidentifiable. Don't think that you know somebody by what you see them say or what you see them do or how they feel, because they are so infinite and so magnificent and so beautiful that you could never truly know them. And you
mm,
are the same thing. You are that same infinite, beautiful, unidentifiable, limitless thing. So
mm.
don't think that you know yourself.
That's
Know that
true.
you can be anything, and know that anybody can be anything, and open up your heart to that experience, because only in that way can you truly experience your world. So stop trying to identify everything. Stop thinking that you know, and find wonderment again. I'll end this part of it with this. When you were a kid, everything was like a miraculous, magical experience. You had no idea how anything worked, so everything was magical. Bring that back into your life right now as an adult and see that it's still there.
Yeah, and I would just add, when we were kid, we had more hope and love. So
Totally.
because the first message and the best message you get is smile from your parents, and also love and smile you give them back. So they don't teach you hate for the first day, or so because you're smiling and the whole world is smiling around you. So same, if we want to feel younger and if we want to live forever, and the fountain of youth lies in those days, is because we had the positive energy. Unfortunately, with time, yes, we learn some bad habits, and just kind of uh, this is very interesting that we regress from good to bad, and we stay in bad. We never go back to good.
That's why the journey is so important. That's why this work is so important. And the beautiful part is that within that contrast, you can truly see the evolution and the change, because the world is so in one direction. Because, like, when you turn on the television, you turn on the news, like, you always can see what's bad. When you do the inner work, when you have inner light, the contrast between that darkness and your light is so visible and it's so experiential, like it's so real. You're like, holy cow, this is so much different than what I'm getting from the world. And then when you look at the world like that, when you go into nature and you go into your experiences, then you're like, wow, like it's been here the whole time.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's beautiful. So you promised me to give our audience a tip.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you are just using your telepathic ability, because I was just thinking about that right before you said it. I was like, it's time to do the energy work. Okay. So the concept, ladies and gentlemen, is where consciousness goes, energy flows. So we move our consciousness through feeling state, by feeling into things. So, Dr. Moby, if you could join me in this, I want you to hold out your right hand, and I
Mhm,
want you to feel your palm. Just feel your palm, feel your fingers,
mhm,
feel every part of your hand. And
mhm,
as you feel it, you'll notice that your hand feels different than every other part of your body. So just feel it more. Just really feel into that space, okay? Now
mhm,
hold out your left hand,
mhm,
and do the same thing. Feel into both of your hands, feel
mhm,
into both of your palms, and really feel into it. Now you're putting feeling state energy into your hands. Now
mhm,
bring your hands about this far apart,
mhm,
and you can feel the field of energy that's between your hands right in
mhm.
here. It'll
Yeah,
feel like a little bit of pressure in there, okay? Now I
yeah,
want you to feel in between your hands in that space like you're holding like a beach ball, like it extends
yeah.
far
It feels
beyond your
like a beach.
hands.
Yeah,
Yeah, now it's pushing in that space. Now I want you to take both of your hands and just touch them to your chest and
mhm.
see how that feels.
Yeah. Feel relieved.
It is a beautiful feeling. You are entering energy into your heart center. You are being filled with consciousness and love into your heart center. And it is giving you a sense of peace and a sense of wholeness that you can have at any moment in your life. Now, the beauty is, I want you to hold your hands where they
Mhm,
were before and
mhm.
see that it's not there anymore.
Yeah, that's
It's not
beautiful.
it's
Yeah,
not
that
like it
is
was.
beautiful.
It's not like
That
it was.
yeah, that's very beautiful. That's true. You feel it. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And guys, I want to assure you that that's just the beginning. What I offer and what I train and what I teach extends so far beyond that. So I don't want you to think that because I gave you like one energy trick, like that's all that there is. No, 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 no. This is just one expression of healing that I want to offer everybody in the world at any time. And
Mhm,
for anybody that joins in my work or sees me in person in Philadelphia, I
mhm,
want to plug Palo Santo Yoga Studio, owned
mhm,
by the wonderful MJ Hart, um, in Philadelphia. That's where I do my live work at, in that space. And yeah, right here is my podcast, The Monk on the Mountain. So for
yeah.
anybody that likes podcasting, I have wonderful guests on this show where different spirit healers, people who have done world travel and done pilgrimages into India and into Egypt and studied under shamans and monks and brought that information, to the modern world. And Monk on the Mountain is based on a story
Mhm,
of a monk that left his city to attain enlightenment. He went into solitude.
mhm,
And when he went up on this mountain, he spent years in solitude becoming a spiritual master and he achieved his enlightenment.
mhm,
But when he looked back on his city, he saw that the people were suffering and the people were unguided and they still needed to grow. So he came down from the mountain and he brought his enlightenment to
mhm,
the people.
mhm,
And that is the basis of the Monk on the Mountain podcast. It's for anybody that has grown in their enlightenment, in their journey, in their solitude, to now bring that information to the world and to help the world heal from the work that they did on the inside. So, for anybody that's interested in that sort of thing, I'm extremely grateful for any support you guys give to the podcast. And you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, and all the other major podcast platforms as well.
Okay, well, thank you. It was such a great experience. Come back again and give us your spiritual talk. It's really very fascinating. And I really enjoyed your energy and I felt so good. Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you
you're so
and
welcome.
stay blessed and keep spreading the great message. Take care. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.